Yep.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's webinar from Anika Digital. My name is Darren Wynn. I'm MD at Anika Digital. So I'm going to be on hosting duties today. So I'll be monitoring chat. If you've got any questions about anything that Emil's talking about, do post them in there. Today's about Meta, which is not my area of expertise, to be honest, but I'll try and answer any questions that I can. And if I can't, I will pose them to Emil at the end of today's session. So this week we've got Emil from Anika Digital. Emil, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Emil. I'm a social media strategist here at Anika, specializing in the ads side, most specifically Meta. So basically what I've done for today is run through a bunch of changes that have happened over sort of like the last year that you may or may not be aware of. I've obviously tried to include different levels, and that will relate to the next poll that Darren puts out, just so we get a good grasp of sort of the experience levels in the room, so that I know whether I can just skim over certain bits or whether I need to go into detail for most of the slides. So yeah,
Brilliant.
let's get that poll up.
Yeah, so we've got two questions. Let me run the first one. The first one is on how experienced are you with Meta Ads Manager? We've got no experience, minimal experience, part of my role, and significant part of my role. Okay.
Yeah, just let me know what they're looking like, because I don't know where to find.
That's all right. They're starting to flow in now. Looks like we've got, what's changing? So 43% for no experience, 35% for minimal experience, 19% part of my role, and 4% significant part of my role. Most people around the no experience.
Okay, that means that a lot of it is probably going to be new to the majority of people on there. So I'll just try to explain what I'd classify as bread and butter a little bit more in depth.
Brilliant.
But yeah, let's get going.
One more poll. Do you want me to run this one?
Just run it in a bit. I'll just do the intros and stuff, and then yeah, in a couple of slides. So yeah, a bit about me. Like I said, I'm a social media strategist here at Anika. I've been here for 4 years. Previously worked at a Nottingham-based agency doing similar role. Work with clients from the pitch stage all the way through to the day-to-day management. Sizes range from startups where you've only got a couple of people doing everything, up to multinationals. Got a good track record gaining results for e-commerce brands in particular, including a number of awards that we picked up in 2023. Don't know if you want to do these ones, Darren, the Anika General side.
Yeah, so it was our 18th birthday yesterday. We celebrated at Vino's in Leicester. So if you joined us then, thank you for coming along. So we've been around for 18 years, data-driven digital marketing. We have a focus around e-commerce businesses and established brands. So we do a load of different things, and it really depends where in this journey clients are. We can sometimes start with strategy discussion, talking around the commercial aspects of their business, and then moving into digital marketing, what aspects of that might work well for different clients. We do a range of things, so that tends to focus around either social, so paid social and organic social, search marketing, that could be SEO, that could be paid search advertising, And then we've got a specialism around shopping as well, through feeds, marketplace, TikTok shopping, everything related to the digital world of shopping. And then in addition to all of that, we also run a lot of training courses. So we do training courses via DMI, which we run on almost a monthly basis now, running through everything that we do. So we teach everyone on a variety of different things, all the way from the basics of digital marketing through to advanced strategies around paid search, strategy, everything in between. So I think that encapsulates most of what we do.
Yes. So just quickly run through the agenda. Essentially, I'm going to run through Advantage Plus enhancement. There's a lot of AI going on the Meta side these days, so a lot of AI features will be mentioned. Other changes that I've come across, read about, and then the future, which I've limited sort of to one topic that seems to be where they're going, and that mainly includes generative video, and then a couple of conclusions at the end. So, Darren, you can run the second poll now, because that's related to this.
Sure. So second poll should be going live. Second poll is, how familiar are you with Advantage Plus enhancements? No idea what that means. Have heard of it, but don't think I've used it. I use it, but don't fully understand it. And I use it and feel like I have a good grasp of it.
That's probably going to be a similar theme to the first one.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 93% at the moment. No idea what that means. A couple of people have heard of it, but don't think they've used it. And then we've got a few people that use it, but don't fully understand it.
Cool. So first of all, Advantage Plus is a bit of a fancy sort of branding that Meta have given automated features. It's not a brand new thing. They just renamed something that was there already before and then added extra ones. When it comes to the different types of features that Advantage Plus has, especially on the creative front, it's this section. So if you're setting up ads, you'll be able to turn off a number of these. They vary for each type of ads. So we've got expansion of images. They can add music to your ads. They can generate backgrounds, dynamic descriptions, dynamic media, info labels, which is sort of like if they can see that a product is on sale, they might automatically add a sale label onto your ads, a little bit similar to Google Shopping. Adaptive placements, so you've got different placements. You've got the stories, you've got the feed placements, that kind of stuff. For videos, you can add video effects. You can adapt to multi-image format, which is a little bit advanced. I've not even tried it. I'm not sure if I trust it, but essentially it will automatically just turn a number of assets into more. So say you have 5 images, you might try and make a video out of that automatically. 3D animation, text improvements, where it essentially just remixes all the information that you've added into the ads and just tries, say you've got a headline, they might try that in the primary text above, that sort of thing. Relevant comments, so they might highlight comments that people have made in the comment section. Image animation, so it might just add a bit of movement to the image that you've uploaded. And then you've got auto brightness, self-explanatory. So just going into depth for a few of these and things you need to consider when deciding whether to turn these on or off. So auto brightness, for example, that might work well for photography. So if you have an ad featuring plain photography, the problem might arise if you've uploaded a graphic and you've got specific brand colors that need to be on brand. If you turn this on, then you might run the risk of the brightness being adjusted and therefore the colors being changed slightly, meaning that your ad is no longer on brand because they're slightly off tone to what they should be. Dynamic descriptions, like I said, it gives the platform more freedom to cater the ads based on the user's behavior. So it will try to come up with different variations that they think. They'll obviously look at a user's behavior in the past and try to come up with similar that they've reacted to in the past. I tend to turn that one on because I've not really seen any issues with it. Music, so it's, even though you shouldn't rely on sound in the ads, it can be an additional sort of positive if someone's got their sound on. But then, for example, we've had a client who reported that the birthday song was being added, which didn't make any sense. There was no birthday relation to the ads. So since then, I've turned that off. But you can untick the automated part, and then you can go through the library and select the songs that you'd be happy with. So you can sort of like type in, because these songs are going to be generic songs, so you won't be able to type in like a top 10 hit in here, but you might be able to type in like country music, and then you can have a listen and then tick the boxes for country music. So if you are going to turn it on, I recommend going in here and picking a few instead of just letting the platform choose whatever, because it clearly isn't developed enough to be able to pick the right songs. We've got other things like automatically sourced promotions. It's fairly new. So essentially, if you've got promotion codes on your website, you can automatically have the platform source them in and add them to your ads. That might show up in the actual ads, but it can also show up when the person clicks through to the website. They've kind of streamlined the process of using that code as well. So this is what would happen if you click on the ads, you go through to the product, then you've got the code, like a banner that pops up here. You can just copy the code so the user can easily use that code instead of having to remember it and typing it all out. I think that's quite a good feature. Site links is another one that's pretty new. You can now add more than one link in your ads. You can lead users to different landing pages through these site links. So that could be quite useful when you've got a company where you've got several different categories. You can also have, you might also not be sure whether the market that you're targeting, how warm they are. So you might have some of the links that are more related to a learn more call to action, and others that have a book now call to action. And then in this example here, this is like a makeup brand, so you could have an ad, and then underneath you could have different links to the different sections. So you could have the skincare, the makeup, the fragrance section. This is how it looks like when you're setting that up. So essentially, you can see this here. They've added an image to each of these site links, so you can upload a thumbnail. You don't have to do that. And then you can type out what you want the label to say, and then you've got the URL. Pretty straightforward. Adding catalog items to creative, fairly new. Essentially, you take catalog items, adds them below the image. It's not the same as a collection ads, even though it looks very similar to it. And essentially, it doesn't always show the product. It will decide when it thinks it's suitable and when it doesn't. So another thing as well is that when someone clicks the product underneath in a collection ad, that would open like an internal landing page within Meta with a bunch of products. Whereas if you click the product here, it will go, for example, on the right here, if I click the first image underneath, that would take me to that fireplace directly. So new feature, and I've seen good results from it. because what we've had in the past is that if you just have a static image ad, it doesn't tend to perform as well as a catalog ad, but this allows you to have the branding and the campaign messaging nice and clear at the top, and then you've still got the dynamic side of the shopping underneath it. Similar to the labels, you essentially just select your catalog, and then you can select what product set you want as well, and which matches the creative. AI enhancements, there's a bunch of these as well. So you got the generative backgrounds. You can switch them on if you want Meta to add a background to your plain catalogs. So on the left, you've got the white background, which is the standard that most catalogs have for product images. Then you got a bunch of different examples. If you got a plain background, like in this example, it can work quite well. Adds a little bit of color to the feed. If you've got an original image where there already is some sort of background, I haven't found it work very well. Sometimes it makes the background worse, and it tries to go a little bit rogue with it. Whereas if you've got a plain background, it'll most likely just do what it's done here, add some a shadow and then some coloring to it. Whereas if, for example, it was on a leafy background, in this case, it might try to generate different types of leaves and stuff, and then you get the AI issues where it looks a bit glitchy. But you can now also add text prompts for those backgrounds, which then gives you a little bit more control than just letting them do whatever they want. So in this example here, you've got the original image where you've got the coffee cup on the table there, and this is one of Meta's images, so it's probably going to look better than the majority of examples that you come up with. But I think with enough work, you'll be able to, like with all AI, once you get to learn what works and what prompts give a positive reaction from the AI, you can have a look and see if the results match what you want. But yeah, here, for example, you can see the cups change color. If that was relevant, then obviously that wouldn't work. So yeah, you just have to pay attention to what it generates and then be selective from there. Here are some examples where I'd basically just typed in some random prompts. You can see when it comes to generating full images, it does go very AI and quite random. The background, essentially, I'll let the platform match some of the wording from a product. So I added the original image, which is the book, and then it used a couple of the description sections. So liberating way of thinking. I mean, that is quite random anyway, and it would be difficult. But you can see how it has added backgrounds. They're okay. They're acceptable. Don't see too much wrong with them. But yeah, something to work. It's worth playing around with if you do want to. In this case, for example, the ad was just a simple product image book, and it was a single image, and it did look quite boring in the feed. So some sort of background was needed. Expand image, essentially it helps you adapt to different placements. So you might have an image that fits a square, but then when you're moving over to stories, it's not going to look great. It's either just going to be the square within the story settings, and then you have sort of like the ugly text underneath on a plain background. With the generative or the expanded image, you'll be able to have the platform generate. You still need to still need to be able to take some control and have a look at what it generates for you. This example is actually not very good from Meta because it just looks like it's zoomed in. It's not actually generated anything. But what it's supposed to do is take the original image and then generate the extra part of the image. So in the square, essentially, it would generate the top and the bottom part. And then you just have to monitor whether it looks good or not. Sometimes you get the issue where it creates random patterns that don't really match the original. So yeah, it's always pay attention to what AI does. There's a bunch of other updates as well that I've seen. One that is coming up soon is a rebrand of Advantage Plus Shopping. That's now going to become Advantage Plus Sales. At the moment, you're able to do the shopping ads and then a manual sales campaign. Essentially, they're removing the manual part. I'm sure there will be another way to have a little bit more control because you don't want everything to be automated. It's nice to have control of some of the settings, but essentially, it's part of the trend that's been happening over the last, God knows how many, 5 years, where they're trying to go more automated on the setup front. So yeah, that will be called sales instead of shopping going forward. I think that's starting this month. Many of you, if you do have social media accounts, what's happened in the last few weeks, this came into place. They've started to remove inactive users. So if you have users within your business manager and your portfolio, essentially, if they've not been active, they'll remove them. And then you have 3 months to re-add them again with their details. Obviously, once they're removed, they won't have access to whatever they were assigned in the past. So the reason for this is probably part for security reasons, because they want to minimize the amount of hackers, and if there's an inactive account, then there's less attention on it. So if someone's hacked an account, that's then associated to assets where they could potentially spend money, then yeah, that's a high risk for them. So it does make sense. You can go in and you can manage those removed users though. So you literally just click and reinstate them again. Dynamic creative is a feature that they are going to remove. Essentially, it was a feature that took media like images, videos, and text, and essentially mixed them up to create new ones. So essentially, I think they're removing it, but they've already added it into the Advantage Plus creative side. So they're removing it, but they're also not removing it. They've just moved it and probably made some tweaks to the feature, but it's not going to have a massive effect on anything. Skippable ads, something that has been introduced fairly recently. So essentially, when you're in the platform, there are different types. It's a bit like YouTube. You have skippable ads and you have non-skippable ads. Obviously, a skippable ads is less likely to generate clicks because people just want to get rid of it. But there is the option to tick and untick that for in-stream videos. So one to make a decision on. If you're running an awareness campaign, then maybe you don't untick it. If you're running a sales campaign, then maybe do tick that box so that you have more action-oriented ads that generate sales. Threads placements is something that is also being rolled out. So from now, people will be seeing more ads within Threads, and you can have a look within the ads manager at those placements where money is being spent. It will probably show up in the placements within Meta as well. When I last looked, I couldn't find it, but it's probably one of those where it's being rolled out to some accounts and then slowly over to everyone. Again, something to consider for that is whether you feel like Threads is a platform where you believe users are going to take action. So again, is it more suitable for awareness, or will people buy through ads on Threads? Another thing is inventory filters. They've been around for a while, but from this month, they'll change the default from moderate to expanded. So essentially, by default, your ads will be shown throughout all their inventory. Inventory essentially relates to the different types of topics that your ads will be shown alongside. And you've got to be careful when it comes to your brand. If you've got children's products, for example, you probably don't want to be associated with certain categories. These categories, they have a list of them within the platform, so you can have a look at what is included with expanded, moderate, and limited. But yeah, we are talking about topics like tragedy and conflict, debated social issues, strong language, sexual or suggestive. So in most cases, you probably do want to be quite selective. The expanded could be risky for your brand's reputation if you're starting to be associated with a lot of these negative topics. So it's one to go in, and when you're setting up new ads from this month, just pay attention whether it's expanded or moderate, and then potentially just change it back to moderate. In terms of the future, what I've been seeing in Meta is that they are going down the movie generation route, where similar to what I showed with the image generation, where you can add in text inputs to generate new videos. So here, for example, you've got 4 examples where you've got the original, someone running in the desert, and then you've got the input, add blue pom-poms, turn it into cactus desert, and then replace it with a dinosaur costume. I mean, there's a lot of potential when it comes to these, but there's always a worry how advanced it is at this stage, and at what point it will be trustworthy enough to use regularly. So here's one where you had an original where you added edits to it. Here's one where it's generated from scratch. So the text input for this was a sloth with pink sunglasses, lays on a donut, float in a pool. And then not just a one prompt, 3 additional ones there, just to make sure it's what they look for. And again, obviously, these are coming from Meta, so they are going to look very good. It's a different story when it comes to trying to make them yourself. And we'll just have to see at what point. This will probably get rolled into the ads manager at some point. At the moment, it's not, but you can generate them and obviously then use them in the ads. But I'm sure this is coming at some point. Again, you've got an original image here, and then turning him into a scientist with different prompts, adding details to it. You can have sound effects. So in this case, you had a video and a text input. It was fairly simple, just rain pours against the cliff. And then a bit of music as well. And yeah, it sounded quite good. It's probably less risky when it comes to sound, because it's easier to get that right. If it's quite generic, sounds like rain pouring against the cliff. So conclusions from today. There are always new features, and they don't tend to come with any warning. So you always have to be on the lookout for these features, and they'll randomly just appear in the account, and then it tends to be a case of, oh, what's this? And then having to test it out. With these features, they're, in most cases, all of them are turned on by default, which is something that most social media managers find extremely annoying, because you have to keep on going in and turning them off. Every time you create a new ad, you have to go in and turn off all of them. So you don't want the music because you don't want the birthday song, and you don't want to change the background because you want the brand colors, and you don't want adjustments to the creative itself. So you have to review and monitor from the user side as well. That's another big point. So whatever you see when you're setting up the ads, that's one side of things, and it shows you a preview, but you're not going to get the full story until you see it from a user's perspective. So trying to get people at your company to pay attention to the channels, follow your own channels so you can see them and interact. You can send a preview to your phone as well, but then you'll get one example. Whereas when you're using these features, it starts to remix and generate different variations. So it's always good to be on the ball when it comes to seeing those from the user side, in case some of them aren't working. Like the example of the birthday song. When I went to preview that would obviously not have the birthday song because it wouldn't make sense. But then another user clicked on it and it did have the birthday song. Some of the features will improve performance. They're obviously there to improve performance, but some of them will hurt it because they're not advanced enough or they don't suit the ads. So yeah, just don't assume that the platform knows best. The platform is always going to say, yeah, try all of this, and it will come up with stupid stats like, oh, 90% of users are using this feature. But that relates to point number 2. They're all switched on by default. So obviously everyone's got them on because they don't know that they have to turn them off. So yeah, just have to critically think about all these new features when deciding whether to turn them on or off. And that is all.
Brilliant, thank you. Loads of information packed in there. You mentioned threads. That's not something I've heard of for a good few months, ever since there was that initial controversy over X. Is there any ad placements for threads, or is it all managed through Facebook? How does that work?
It will be managed through Facebook, so it's one of those things that's fairly new, so they'll start to roll it out. I think it's already happening at the moment, so they're probably testing in the background. Some accounts will have more control over threads placements or not. They will, for the majority of these campaigns, it will just be turned on. It will just be ticked within the placements for new campaigns in the future. And then you can decide whether to untick it or not. So because it falls under Meta, it will be the same as Instagram and Facebook. You don't manage them in 2 different places. It's all going to be in the same. And I read as well that it's probably going to start with image ads.
Okay.
So there's not going to be like, at the moment, my impression is you're not going to have like a thread that's going to be sponsored. It's going to be an image ad that goes into threads, if that makes sense.
It was interesting. There was a lot of controversy over how X was being run. And actually, interestingly, because I do the strategy day on our DMI course, I was trying to find some examples on X for different businesses that have consistent content throughout. And I noticed a lot of brands that I buy from personal experience, they haven't uploaded on X in a very long time. I don't know if that's through choice and becoming annoyed with how X is being run. I also find it interesting that Facebook have recently come out to say that they're going to be changing their moderation for content in a similar way to how X does it. So if everyone was were previously flocking to Facebook as a better or more appropriate place to advertise. It sounds like they're going down the same route.
Yeah, I think with Twitter, the majority of companies did see engagement die down over time. It was on a downward slope, and there was a lot of posting just for the sake of posting on there. And then the controversy came about where people said, okay, yeah, just stay away from it for the time being. And then when the storm was finished, and all of a sudden people thought, oh, can we actually be bothered to go back on it anyway? Well, what were we getting from it? And I feel like that's probably the case with a lot of these brands, where they've thought, well, what's the point in going back when we weren't really getting much anyway?
Yeah. We've got a couple of questions, so I'll go through these just quickly. There was one that I answered around the music aspect of what you mentioned at the start, and the copyright rules around it. I did a quick search because I wasn't clear myself on whether the music that Facebook suggests is copyright free or not. I think it is. Is that right?
Yeah, it's generic music, so hence why you can't pick like a top 10 hit. It's just like it's not. They usually don't have words either. It's just instrumentals, so there's no royalties issues on that front.
Right. Okay. A question from Marilli. I was setting the ads up yesterday, struggled to add music. Do you know how we can turn that option on? And then a second one, also, if I would like to boost a post, how to choose the music that wouldn't get muted?
When it comes to boosting, you get limited options. So on that front, it's probably because the boost is basically just designed to get some money behind it ASAP without having a lot of options that you have to adjust before getting it out. So it's unlikely to be in there. When it comes to where you add the music, in the ads manager, you've got the campaign level, ad set level, and then you've got the ad level. It's in enhancements. I feel like that's what they've labeled it. So within there, you get what I showed in the slide. So slide number 4 or something. You get like a menu of all of them, and that's where you'll get this. And then you can decide something similar to this. Depends on the type of ad. This is for a catalog, but it might be like 4 of them.
Cool. One on real ads. Meta is suggesting real ads a lot to me at the moment. Is there much success with those?
It's a placement. So if you got a video ad, then you might as well tick the reels anyway, because it's another placement for you. Meta have also kind of, there's a while back where they basically said that all video is now reels anyway. So yeah, I know that you get emails, you get far too many emails from Meta talking about do this, but when it comes to video ads, yes, and video ads are essentially reels, so you might as well just tick it. You're likely to get more engagement from a reel than from a story, for example, because people skip through stories quicker.
Mm-hmm. Can you, with the music side, can you add you mentioned adding your own music? You can't do that, I'm guessing.
You'd add that when you create your own video.
Right. Okay. A question from Anne. I hear you can have WhatsApp ads in some countries. What about the UK?
Yeah, well, not ads yet, but you can in different regions. Like the UAE, for example, it's normal to have WhatsApp ads. In the UK, at the moment. Not much. We'd all see them regularly if it was a thing, but I think the consumers in the UK aren't ready for it. Personally, I'd find it really annoying, and I would be blocking a lot. But I'm sure they'll come into place at some point, and they'll probably look a little bit better than just, sometimes you do get marketing through WhatsApp where someone's just randomly messaging you on there from a business. That definitely doesn't work in the UK. But what might happen is that they have within all your messages, like an ad will come in, just like in Facebook Messenger. Probably looks similar to that. But I've not got a timeline for when that will or will not roll out.
Yeah. Two more questions. One around Amazon. Are there any unique features to link to Amazon, for example, extracting reviews?
Not that I know of. There's been talk about Amazon and Meta having sort of like a partner link, and it's something that I'm still waiting for because I really want it because it means that you can essentially connect sales that are generated from the ads. So you can have a catalog ads, and essentially the catalog can be Amazon connected. So they just go straight through Amazon where they have all their details already saved and they've got Prime and they get free delivery. At the moment, if you send people to a product link in a sort of manual way on Amazon, you've got very limited data in terms of attribution there. But I feel like they should be working harder to get something like that set up, where essentially you've got the two platforms linked, so you can advertise your catalog of products on Amazon on Meta, so people can just go and buy it within 3 clicks. Both of the platforms will be making a lot more money, so it makes sense, because at the moment it's just Amazon advertising, and then sending people to the site, but you don't often get brands advertising themselves for people to go to Amazon, because the reason why they don't do it often is because they can't track the performance precisely enough.
Brilliant. And then one question on building audiences. When you add interests to your audience, will this reduce the reach to only people who have engaged with that interest?
Not anymore. It essentially just uses it as a guideline. So you're saying these people might be relevant, and then the platform says, okay, we'll have a look at those, and then we'll have a look at others as well. So in the past, it might have been limited to only those. When it comes to the Amazon reviews, so I did just think that if you get reviews synced into your product feeds, then you can have some review data within your catalog ads. So essentially, you could add reviews for all the specific product, or a review into like a custom field. I think that would work in that way. And then you've got different types of plugins. We use something called Confect, where you get more options and you get more freedom to edit your feeds. And within there, you can use more reviews. But yeah, it's slightly more advanced than the basic setup within Meta. You have to do things outside of Meta to make that happen.
Brilliant. I think that covers all of the questions that everyone has posted, so that's awesome. Thank you, Emil. That was great. Loads of information there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Just a couple of few little bits from me. A couple of people have mentioned about the recording. So the recordings get sent out via email, usually comes through a couple of hours after we close today's webinar. The webinar handouts are available in the handouts section in Big Marker, so you can navigate on the right hand side, I believe, and find those to download if you want that information for later. We've had a pop-up for reviews. If you could leave a review for Emil, it would be great. It goes a really long way for us. I know the team put a lot of effort into these webinars, so review really helps the business and helps everyone just promote this a little bit wider. Next week, we've got Rachel. So Rachel's going to be talking about TikTok, latest updates and everything surrounding TikTok trends. So that should be a really good one. So hopefully see you next week for that. Otherwise, I think that just leaves us both to say thank you very much for joining us. Have a good weekend, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Cool.
Thanks, Emil.
Bye, everyone.